Okay, so this Zdeno Chara stuff is really, really weird, because we had ourselves a few tweets, a few interviews done with Chara and Don Sweeney, talking about the departure of the captain of the Bruins for the past decade and a half, pretty much. And it's kind of weird because we had a whole bunch of other quotes that came out that kind of contradict some of the other things that we saw, but because it makes for a good video topic, let's go over this because I really do think that a lot of this stuff somewhat is getting convoluted to the point where it seems a lot more duplicitous than it really is. So let's go over the situation with Zdeno Chara once again. He was the Bruins captain, as I said, for a decade and a half. He's huge, he's left-handed, he's a big guy who's got a big shot, and he is a very capable NHL player by most people's standards. However, the Bruins were in a position where they ended up losing out on Torrey Krug, and with Zdeno Chara potentially out the door as well, the Bruins were in a position where they probably needed to increase some of their defenseman depth. They have Gritslick, they have Lozon on the left side, but after that it kinda trails off significantly, and to be fair, those guys aren't really as good as the Krugs that they had before as well. So the Bruins were in a position where they kinda did need more depth. And with that conversation, you have Zdeno Chara, the guy who's been here for a decade and a half, and a guy who probably is still an NHL-capable player. A few days ago, we had ourselves word on Instagram from Chara himself that the Bruins let him know that they plan to move forward with their many younger and talented players without him. Unfortunately, his time as the proud captain of the Bruins has come to an end. And that was it. We saw Chara leave out on the Bruins because the Bruins just did not want to bring him back. That's the implication that it says right here. They wanted to move forward with their younger talent without me. But then we had ourselves an interview done with Don Sweeney, the GM of the Bruins, on Zoom. And this is the quote that he had that kind of went sort of viral on Twitter that kind of contradicts that. Yeah, let's just read it over here. He says that a contract was indeed offered to Chara, but that Chara chose to wait and see what the protocols would be for the virus in place for a new season. He added that it's sad to see Chara leave Boston. Now, before we go into any of the other quotes, this right here, this Don Sweeney quote, phrased the way it is in this specific tweet, makes it seem like Zdeno Chara was just coming out there and lying, saying, oh, the Bruins told me they don't want to come out here and bring me back. But Don Sweeney says, nah, man, we offered you a contract. What's going on here? And so that's kind of what has sparked a whole bunch of controversy. If you go to the quoted tweets, you can see David Pagnotta yesterday. He said, oh, Chara wrote about how the Bruins informed me that they plan to move forward without him. This is strange. Is somebody lying here? Do we have somebody being deceiving on their end over here? For a little bit more of a look, let's go over to Elliot Friedman. This is what he said on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Is it still called The Fan? Sorry, I'm not in Toronto, I'm in Vancouver here. But he said this yesterday in the morning. From what I understand, Boston said to Zdeno Chara they kind of wanted to move on. After that, Chara had to decide if he wanted to keep playing. And last week, he decided he wanted to play. Some felt when Boston lost to Tampa Bay, the players knew that was their last chance for the core. Friedman thinks the Bruins think they need to turn the roster over a little bit. So this right here kind of supports what Zdeno Chara was saying on his Instagram post, that the Bruins just straight up kind of wanted to move on. And it's another shot to Don Sweeney because what he said in this previous tweet says, oh, well, we offered him a contract. What do you mean? And that's why this topic is a little bit funny if you don't have all the context here, because from what we have seen thus far, it does seem like one party, either Sweeney or Chara, is lying here. But after a few more interviews, after a few more quotes, everything kind of gets settled down. Take a look at this. This is what Friedman tweeted out yesterday on a Zoom call. Zdeno Chara said that Boston negotiated in good faith with the Boston Bruins, but he chose to move on because his role with the team would be more limited. More of a reserved type of player. He adds that nothing is guaranteed in Washington, but he feels he has more to offer than what a reserve player would entail. So that right there is kind of the deflation of conflict here, because we have word that yes, Chara did actually get offered something back with Boston, but the role he was offered was a lot more limited than what he would assumably get with the Washington Capitals. Here are some more quotes from Don Sweeney going over that same idea here. The Bruins GM said they offered a contract to Chara months ago, but he also said he did not guarantee that Chara would have the same role if he didn't return. Now that last part is really interesting, saying that he does not guarantee Chara would have a similar role if he went to another team. And that's kind of where this whole thing gets muddy, because Don Sweeney is straight up saying, yes, we did offer him a contract, and Chara eventually did say, yeah, they did offer me a contract, but the role was limited. Sweeney also believes the Bruins have a strong leadership core after Chara's departure. He also says there will be a captain this season. We'll make a decision, and it's an obvious decision. Sweeney said the call from Chara's agent is the single most unrewarding phone call he has had during his tenure as a general manager. Most assumably, the phone call where the agent probably said, okay, sorry, bud, we're not going to sign with your team, or a phone call where he says, sorry, bud, the role that you're saying my client is going to get, nuh-uh, not great. Chara, though, on the other side, is indeed in a more, let's just say, civil kind of place, because he does say that Don Sweeney negotiated in good faith. I appreciate that he was open with me about my role. He made it clear what role I would be taking with the Bruins if I would have returned. I just felt I have more to offer and that I could still play regularly, which is why he ended up going to Washington, where the opportunity is most likely going to be better. Take a look at this. The Capitals informed him a few days ago of their interest, and he felt like coming to Washington was an opportunity I didn't want to pass on. And then he went with it. So at the end of the day, all this stuff pretty much boils down to whether or not you believe Zdeno Chara is a capable NHL defenseman who could probably play, at least in some capacity, some top 4 minutes. A reserve kind of player, a limited role in Boston, would be quite weird, especially for a guy who has been this team's captain for a decade and a half. And putting him in a position on your depth chart where he's already behind guys like Lozon and Gritslick, these guys who definitely are not the same caliber in terms of their overall impact long-term as a Chara, it kind of could get a little bit weird, and I can understand why somebody, especially of Zdeno Chara's status of the league, etc., would say, okay, well, I want to go somewhere else where I can play more. Say what you want about the Bruins and their decision to make that, it's just the way that Chara responded to that makes a lot of sense. It is just kind of funny, though, how Chara at the very beginning said, yeah, okay, the Bruins informed me they want to move on with their younger players. But then Sweeney was like, nah, hold up, buddy, we offered you a contract. And then the clarification came out that said, oh, the contract we offered you was not really going to have that guarantee of a similar role as you had before, yada, 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 more young players, more youth, etc. We have good players on our team that are younger. We need to grab onto the steering wheel and turn this ship around. Now, however Chara plays with the Washington Capitals, that remains to be seen. He's going to go over there and start playing in the middle of January. They'll play the Bruins like 10 times in the season. No big deal because they're in the same division. But yeah, two parties lying about this stuff over here? Nah, it's more like two parties just not really revealing the entire truth and kind of leaving out certain parts to make it seem a little bit bad for the other party, but then eventually clearing things up. So yeah, that's our video here today about the Boston Bruins. Talk to me in the comments what you think about Zdeno Chara. Is this guy still an NHL caliber player who's worth about top 4 minutes-ish on a good team like Washington? Did the Bruins make a mistake by not bringing this guy back on a league minimum $795, $800-ish thousand deal? Or do you agree with Sweeney saying that the team ultimately has a direction to go through that does not involve Chara, that they can accomplish good things right now? Guys like Gritslick, guys like Lozon, guys on the left side who are not Krug or Chara coming over here and taking over the reins. Is that the move? Tell me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this edition of 99. And bye.